Good evening, my purveyors of the torch of masculinity. It's Colton here with Macho Mecca. Today is the day you've all been waiting for. For the first time since 2001, Totally Buffed is reunited on one platform and one platform only, and that's the Macho Mecca Podcast. Buff Daddy's back in the house with us, and with him today is the Total Package Lex Luger. Gentlemen, how are we doing today? And tell the listeners how you guys got started and became friends.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, but I think Sting put us together, right, in the gym?
Actually,
we had our first workout together, and the rest is history, right?
You know how vivid both of our memories are. We both have excellent long-term memories, and I can tell you what we were wearing, where we were at, and what we were doing. The gym is one of them, but the very first time I met you, I can't tell you if it was at the Marriott bar or the Marriott restaurant. I just know it was at a restaurant, and that was the first time really I got a chance to meet the Total Package Lex Luger. The first time I ever
I'm going to take you back one step further, Mark.
Go.
I think, Colt, we're not going to be able to establish this because we may differ in opinion, but I think I met you, like you were like
Super Brawl was
maybe still in high school. I thought it was at the Cobb County Civic Center.
You're exactly right. I was with Missy.
And I think you were like still in high school.
Theoretically, number one was the Cobb County Civic Center upstairs where y'all used to have catering. Because I never did TV there.
In the food room.
And you sat at my table with me, and I was sitting there going, oh my God. To Missy High, she goes, just be cool, you know? And so, but that was right, if you remember, that was right at the edge of, there was no more Cobb County Civic Center, and it was center stage, but you are, as usual, 100% right. I never argue with Lex.
But Colton,
ever.
Colton, our paths crossed, but our friendship really keyed on fire through our workouts in the gym together.
Let me tell you,
that was the foundation, the beginning of a great friendship to this day.
Do you mind me talking about the ingrown hair?
Well,
do you even remember it?
I might if you refresh my memory.
Denver, Colorado. You've got an ingrown hair on the inside of your leg, and Sting knows me like nobody else. Everybody else thought, Bagwell was a fag and nobody liked me and all that. Well, Sting knew it and met me and really knew what a good guy I was, and he goes, "Man, Bagwell will fix that. He will fix it for you." But this is back in the day where Sting, if you remember, he closed the door and had to lean up against it because we didn't want nobody coming in and seeing what we were doing. But you raised your leg up, and I had to get my little kid out, and I picked an ingrown hair out and tweezed, and it was like how I call it, pulling the thorn out of the big man's hoof, and we were friends for life. That was in Denver, Colorado, at the Pepsi Coliseum, bro. And I don't know if you remember that or not, but dude,
I don't. But thanks for sharing.
Yes, that's
a great story.
Keep in mind, this is back when you didn't walk up to Rick Rude and go, "Hey, Rick, do you mind shaving my neck for me?" This is back before that. You hid around corners, everybody hid, till finally we realized we did need each other. We did need each other, because we're on the road together. And so everybody was, at one stage, there would be like 5 guys in a line. And I'd be shaving backs, and then we'd all turn, and then you get your back shaved. I mean, we needed each other to be on the road. And
male grooming.
Yeah.
There we go.
Male grooming, This
Man grooming.
the metrosexual.
Colton, jump in anytime you want, buddy.
Hey, I love to let you guys go, man. I love it. That's, I mean,
yeah, hop in where you
that's-
want, brother. But this is this is really how it came down. And after that, it just me and Lex just always hit it off from jump. I mean, just every single thing. I mean,
Yeah, Colton, we
were just super tight.
Colton, I had some great training partners. In all seriousness,
Hey, come on,
I
man.
started out in high school with a world champion powerlifter who won the world's strongest man contest. He mentored me. A guy named Don Reinhardt outside of Buffalo, where I was born and raised. Great man. I trained with 2 NFL football players I played high school ball with, the same high school team. We had great workouts together. I had great workouts with Sting, great workouts with British Bulldog. But as far as workout chemistry in the gym, Marcus was hands down. The guy could hang, and when we worked out together, we had the best chemistry I've ever had in a workout partner, for sure.
Ever. I remember.
No doubt about it.
No doubt
That's awesome.
about it. There was a time, Colton,
Best workouts of my life were with Marcus Bagwell.
without a shadow of a doubt, 100% my best workout was with the Total Package Lex Luger. 1,000%, not even close, not even a question, not even ask. Sting hated to work out. So Sting would try to mess up me and Lex's workout so we could go play golf. All Sting wanted to do was get our workouts over with to go play golf, and me and Lex were going to get our workouts in. But they became a stage where we were so intense with our workouts that if we didn't get the amount of reps we were supposed to, you got slapped in the face. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we went on a little binge there in the gym and on the golf course with slap bets and things. I do remember that.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
If you didn't get what you were supposed to get, or you didn't get the putt, or whatever it may be,
You were punished. That's
and
right.
I don't mean kind of slapped. I'm talking about, as we call it in Marietta, the Bagwell slap. You got slapped.
Yeah, we did not hold back. No doubt.
There was no holding back.
That's awesome, guys. I love it. I mean, the gym stories are the type of stuff we're definitely going to talk about today. The one thing, Lex, we have some good questions here from some of our listeners that I thought were really interesting, and I put a few together as well. So, everyone knows about the Monday Night Wars, but you played, we talked before the show about how, you talked about how you played with the Bulls for a little bit, but you played with some other USFL teams as well. So, what was that like playing in the USFL? Because, in a way, that's like almost the Monday Night Wars between the NFL and the USFL, because at the time, they were paying big money to some big name players. I mean, Mike Rozier was a part of the Jacksonville Bulls, right? And what was that like?
Donald Trump had Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie White, Jim Kelly, a bunch of guys were in the USFL. So was the feeling when you're playing in the USFL like, hey, I'm at the top of professional football? Or was the NFL looked at still as the top league? What was the dynamic like for that?
NFL was still they were the big boys.
Yeah.
At that time, but USFL was a lot of fun. I played in the Canadian Football League. I was with the Packers a little bit, NFL, but the USFL was so much fun. I played for the old ball coach Steve Spurrier,
My guy.
for Tampa Bay Bandits. We outdrew the Buccaneers when we were there. Fans loved us. Then I went to the Memphis Showboats, played for Pepper Rogers, who was a riot.
God, Pepper Rogers.
If it was hot out at practice, sometimes he'd surprise us. He'd start practice in the heat in the summer in Memphis and have barbecues and beers waiting off to the side. He'd send us in early. That guy was who we used to want to play our butts off for him. And then I ended up when there were some injuries in Jacksonville. When you guys had a playoff run, I ended up spending some time. I didn't play, but I practiced on your reserve with Jackson, but that was a great league. And really, that's when I got into wrestling. The last year of the league, I would have either had to try to get in the NFL, which had a glut of great players trying to get on the NFL roster, so many great players, but I started with Matsuda training and wrestling and never went back to football.
Did you know it was time to transition from football, or were you looking to leave, or was football your initial
I had
passion?
no idea, Colton. I didn't know if wrestling would work
Yeah.
out. It took off. Matsuda trained me. It took off like the 4th of July fireworks for 15 years, but I had no idea. I just went to the dungeon. Matsuda trained us and was wondering if I could, in the off season, I could maybe become a pro wrestler in the off season.
Yeah.
I never went back to football.
Right.
How much did you weigh about that time, Lex?
I was just going to ask that.
In football, I was about 275, 280. I dropped about 15, 20 pounds from Matsuda. He put you through a really
I've heard.
indescribable training
I've
regimen.
heard stories.
So I got down to about 255 for that, push-ups and Hindu squats, things like that. But when I broke into wrestling, I was about 275, about the same weight that I played football at.
And were you an offensive lineman or defenseman?
I did play. I played down lineman. I played some fullback, some outside linebacker. I played some defensive end, and I played some down offensive line as well.
Tight end. Do you play any tight end stuff?
Yeah, I didn't have the hands
You
for
did,
it.
really? Did you straight up? You'll be honest and didn't have the hands for it.
I had Tim
There you
Tebow.
go. Lex and I were talking about the Jaguars and Tim Tebow.
We were talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I caught everything with my body. I didn't catch anything with my hands.
that works sometimes. Yeah. I mean, because the Bulls had was it Brian Sipe at the time? I think. I mean, he was a former NFL MVP. So, and you had Rozier. So, I mean, there were some guys that.
Oh, elite athletes,
Yeah.
no doubt.
I'm not. Colton, you always do your homework, and you do very well, and you're a super guy, and that's why one reason why I did call Lex to do this, because Lex knows if I call, it's a reason, because the guy's a good guy and he's going to do us right and everything. So that's one reason why I did call Lex on this. So I
appreciate it, man.
A good podcast and a good chance to talk. But one thing you may not know, but Lex is in the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yes.
Not for my football ability, for my wrestling ability.
That's pretty cool.
I'm one of the former Packers who became a
Tell
pro
them
wrestler.
about that, Lex.
So yeah. Well, no, it was a cool little deal, but it was just it's for my wrestling. They did me and Mongo.
Really?
They played for Green Bay a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, they did a little introduction.
That is cool. Did you get to go to Lambeau for that?
I remember, I was there. I was in the audience for you with because we were. Me and Lex were elbow to elbow for years. You know.
That's awesome. You guys go to Lambeau for that too?
No, that was actually in the Brown County. They had the Hall of Fame in there then. It's moved since over to the stadium, but back then the Hall of Fame was in right off the Brown County Arena where we wrestled.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay. So.
But Colton, I know you got some questions for Marcus and I from your.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? So we'll get into that now. So really, the main one that we got over and over again was, and it was kind of brought on by Buff's podcast because Buff told a lot of great stories about training and especially your training. So what went into building the Total Package? I mean, I'm talking, what was your split? You know, what are your philosophies as it relates to working out and building one of the greatest physiques in professional wrestling history?
For Marcus and I, we knew that road travel and trying to eat properly would be challenging. So our main goal was to when we went to the gym, to have the approach of we go in with a rifle with a scope, not a shotgun, because it would be very easy through not getting enough sleep and not be able to eat properly to overtrain. So we did as much as we needed to do and got in and out of the gym, like usually within an hour and a half. We did one body part a day. We did chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday to get up out of your break, shoulders and traps on Thursday, arms on Friday. Then we take the whole weekend off to rest, recover, and have some fun back in the day.
Again.
And that was our routine. And
There you go.
we always
But the
figured
main thing,
you couldn't
the main thing
overtrain
you
with
told
that.
me,
Go ahead,
Lex,
Mark.
The main thing you told me, Lex, if you remember, was reverse pyramid. And I'm so careful, and I told Colton this, I'm so careful to tell kids that workout because they're not going to do it properly. They're not going to warm up properly, and they're going to tear a pec or they're going to hurt themselves. But if you do it properly, it just makes common sense that you're lifting your heaviest weight at your freshest time. And our whole lives, since we were children, let's take back, for example. The peg was here. We do a set. We put the peg here, we do a set. We do the peg here, we do the set. We move the peg here, we do a set. And then we'd go, let's work out. And you go, we've already worked out. So we learned through you the reverse pyramid of warm up, warm up, warm up, warm up, first set. And so you're lifting your heaviest weight at your freshest moment, and I believe with all of my heart, and still do it to this day, and I will never change it. I believe with all of my heart that is the key to success of what we did at the time. And they all thought we were crazy. They'd go in and do the 135, the 185, the 225, and then go, well, let's work out. And we go, you just did. You just did work out. So we would go 135, 135, 135, 315 for 10. And that's what made it so much better is we just knew. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to you're going to tear something up, and you're not going to know what you're doing because guys aren't going to stretch. They're not going to be proper like you taught me to be. They're not going to do it. Every morning he would wake me up, Lex would wake me up, and I go, Lex, please, can we just take today off, please, man? I said, we look incredible. God, we're in good shape. And he goes, I said, what is your drive? And he goes, I don't want to do it again. I've built it. I've made it. I don't want to fix it. I don't want to do it again. And I would get up, and I was right out the door behind the Total
Well, I think
Package
Mark, your point is good. Being consistent with our training, obviously, was a big thing, and you're spot on with descending sets where you warm the muscle up enough that you don't get injured, but you handle the max amount of weight, the max amount of reps first, and then drop the weight from there. For you're gonna do 3 sets, you do the heaviest weight for the most reps. When you just the muscles warm, and then you drop it a little bit, maybe 5%, and drop it another 5%. So we might do a set of 6 to 8. Once we've warmed up properly with the heaviest weight, drop it 20 pounds, do a set of 8, maybe 8 to 10, drop it another 20, 30 pounds, and do a set of 8, maybe 10 to 12. But that first step is the big adaptation. Yeah. The maximum weight with the maximum amount of reps while you're fresh. Most guys burn out with lighter weight in the warm-up. By the time they get to the heaviest weight, that's going to force the body to have the best adaptation. They've blown it out getting there.
Did you find that you worked in that same rep count for all of your body parts, or did you say, hey, like legs, like I was talking to Tony Atlas yesterday, he always said training with Charles Glass and with, Lou Ferrigno, they always said for legs, you got to hit at least 20 reps because you're not going to get the muscle growth. Everyone has their theories, but what was yours as far as rep counts for different body parts?
Mark, we did higher reps on legs, right?
We always did higher reps. I saw Lex do 405 one day. He walked in, and this is when Vince was all over him up there, and I mean, it kind of, I ain't gonna lie, it
Heavily tested. Yeah.
Heavily tested, and it caught me off guard a little bit seeing Lex as thin as I saw him. It caught me off guard a little bit. Now, keep in mind, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy anyway. So it was just, oh my God, there's Lex Luger, and he's the man, and this and that. Well, it didn't take long. He did 405, and this is with my eyes. This is not a story that was told. I watched him do it. He did 405 for 20 reps.
Yeah, that's nuts.
With his butt touching his ankles on every set. And I've never seen anything like it in my life to this day.
That's my old powerlifting background.
Your old powerlifting background?
It was the most unbelievable thing. Hey, I got 315 for 8. He got 405 for 20.
That's crazy. Wow.
With those long, skinny giraffe legs at the time.
What's that, Lex?
I had like long, skinny giraffe legs at the time. I was 6'4" and about 245, which for then I was thin. I looked like a giraffe.
245 at your
I
height.
freaked you out, didn't I?
It freaked me out. And then you got on the extension, and you put it on the rack. It was the whole stack, and just 25, 30 reps. And I just went, man, this is, and it depressed me because I went, I thought I was pretty tough. This is out of my league.
Well, we all know too that that strength is a demonstration of what you can do. A lot of times that has to do with your limb length, your tendon strength.
Totally.
So I always was pretty strong, not like world-class powerlifter strong, but kind of like a power builder strength.
Yeah.
Kind of in between a powerlifter and a bodybuilder.
Yes.
That was from my powerlifting background. I had some pretty good tendon strength. So that's kind of where that all came from.
Yeah, 405 for 20. I've never heard of that before. That's nuts. So you say,
but getting back to your original question, Cole, we did pretty high reps on legs.
High reps on legs, and then chest and back, other big body parts. I mean, are you trying to work in
8 to 12?
8 to 12? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I remember Marcus saying.
Yeah, what we did, I can tell you exactly what we did. We did the 8, 10, 12.
Okay.
And how we judged it was after we warmed up, if we did get our 8 set, then we used that 8 set as our 10 set. And then if we your idea was to barely get 8, then you guessed the weight properly. If you got it easy,
and then next workout we moved the weight up for the descending sets on that particular exercise.
Right.
Like if you did heavy benches, you get maybe 6 or 7 reps on your own on that first heavy set, and if you got 8, you know to move the weight up next time.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you just smoked 8, that was automatically, we knew that was our 10. And then there was times
that was your 10.
That we got our 10, and then that was our 12. But you judged it by how you got the 8, how you got the 10, and how you got the 12. But to answer your question, we did that on every body part except for legs. Legs we treated differently for several reasons. We didn't do them as much because it's hard to be a pro wrestler and have sore legs all the time. So legs are one of the first things that we back off of. And at the same time,
we hit them hard once a week on Wednesdays. We hit them hard.
Oh yeah,
on Wednesdays.
Yeah. We hit them hard. No doubt about it. We hit them hard. We hit them tough, and we hit them strong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it became kind of old that we were constantly.
Well, we weren't road warriors who claimed it was an upper body business. We trained our legs pretty hard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. We made sure we had our legs.
Got to stay proportionate, right? Exactly.
Got to have them wheels, man.
Exactly. That's awesome. And I know on Buff's podcast, he gave kind of his philosophy on diet. Lex, what was your philosophy on diet as far as building the total package?
In my prime, I'd want to get a minimum of a gram and a half to 2 grams protein per pound of body weight.
Sam.
So if somebody weighs 250, you'd want to get between 375 or 400 to 500 grams a day, spaced out maybe between 6 to 8 servings.
Yeah, that's a lot of protein.
Your shakes, solid food, not all solid food, but shakes, bars, food. I always try to keep a positive nitrogen balance and not get catabolic. I try to really keep the protein up there. My body fat levels, Mark and I both always balance our body fat levels with our carbs. I would have a low carb day, high carb days, medium carb days, medium low, medium high. Then on Sundays would be a treat day. So we kind of do like a carb loading day.
It's kind of a carb cycling.
The carbs, played with them to keep the metabolism running hot and lean. But I always got the foundational amount of protein in every day if possible.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it was, and that
we didn't weigh, we didn't measure. We just kind of knew what
in the mirror.
In.
We didn't weigh.
Right.
We didn't weigh either. We looked in the mirror.
Yep.
And it was kind of like people saying, "What do you bench?" And we'd say, "What's it look like we can bench?"
Exactly.
Because
I always went by body fat levels. We went by the mirror and how at the time our jeans fit.
Sure.
I always tell when I put on a pair of jeans how it was as far as how tight I was.
Oh, I could put one pair of jeans on. I could put one of my shirts on and go, "Oh, I'm in. I'm dialed in." You know, and that could be just one pecan pie, one piece of pecan pie that just made you, that just dialed it in, ready for your show. And it really, really worked. But it just, people.
But
during our time,
nutritionally, Mark and I say. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It went from 80%. It went from 80%, working out and 20% diet to 80% diet, 20% working out.
Yeah.
No doubt.
What were you gonna say there, Lex?
Yeah, I agree. And it's much easier once you get into a pretty optimal zone with your muscle mass and your body fat, and you really know how to balance your carbs, you're getting enough protein. It's not automatic pilot, but people ask, well, how do you stay lean year round? Unlike maybe some bodybuilders who have a couple big shows a year. Once you get dialed into that zone, it's not easy, but it's not as hard as you think to stay fairly lean year round. If you know what you're doing, you know your own body.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, that's great feedback.
That don't mean we didn't wake up some Tuesday mornings and went, "God dang, we just missed it." That don't mean we didn't miss it sometimes.
I think you're referring to Monday nights, right? When we be on TV, we want to peak for Nitro.
Yeah. After Monday night,
gotcha.
After Nitro, we'd wake up on Tuesday morning and go and just be shredded in the mirror and go, "God darn, man, we just missed it."
I don't know if I ever did that. You might have done that, Mark.
I did. I know.
So you guys were.
I hate you. Hey, I'll tell you a story I may have told you last time with him. We used to we both did our shakes different ways. As far as we did our shakes exactly the same. Everything we did exactly the same because we were going for the same ultimate way to go. Even though we're dealing with somebody that is 6'4", 6'5", that is 280, it's still the same rules of 1.5 milligrams per body pound, roughly 2 to 1.5 to 2. It still is the basic rules. But you also got to realize there's genetics involved, and there's a lot of things involved with that. But one day, Lex always kept a rag in his towel. We had these things called turbo shakers. and they were the best shaker ever made
At the time.
to
Yeah.
this day, and Lex will tell you that. They were unbelievable. You got them at a kitchen store, and I can't remember the name of the kitchen. Letcher's was the name of the kitchen. I don't know where it came from. Letcher's was the name of the kitchen place. And you go in, and you can find them in there, and I don't know what they use them for in there, but they just were, and they wasn't screw on, they were just caps that you think, there's no way this is going to stay on when I shake
They were
this.
snap-on lids, yeah.
These were the, I still, right now in my cabinet, I still
use them.
I still have a turbo shaker. I still got turbo shakers. I have managed to save 2, and you can get them in Canada now still, but I was able to manage to save 2. But one day, I was rinsing mine out, and I kind of rinsed mine out, just put a little water in there and rinsed it out, and I did it. And when I did the drink, I caught out of the corner of my eye, Lex wasn't moving, and Lex was looking at me. And I go, "What's up?" And he goes, "You just got in 5 more grams of protein than me." And I said, and I looked, and I went, "Well, yeah." I said, "Probably. I mean, that's about right. I think I probably got 5 more grams, if that." He opened his container and poured 5 grams of protein into his shaker, shook it up, and drank it.
You're making me sound
gram counts.
obsessive compulsive now, Marcus.
Yes.
We used
were
to have
going to
protein
be
contests, Golden.
the best.
We go down. We go on the road. If we had to drive through and we had to eat quick, we'd buy like 4 Arby's roast beefs and throw the bread away, and pound back. And I'd always try to steal a little bit of roast beef off Marcus's, one of his, when he wasn't looking, so I could tell him I had 5 more grams of Arby's roast beef than him.
That's awesome.
After it was all gone.
That's awesome.
So we had like protein eating contests.
I mean, the fact that you guys are eating 400 grams of protein a day, I've been a bodybuilder before. I'm 6'2", 220. I mean, 400 grams of protein is a lot of protein. That's a shitload.
Colton, I got a story for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You remember back in the day, Lee Haney?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Olympia,
Yeah,
7 times.
most Mr. Olympias ever.
I did a TV show with him before my injury. I was still eating 400 or 500 grams a day. Lee Haney was there. He was retired at the time. Still looked, pretty darn good. I was in a green room on a TV show. We're out there talking about some stuff. And I go, "Lee, they had a bunch of good protein stuff on there. Look at all this protein. Why aren't you eating?" He goes, "Man, Lex," he goes, "look at that level I did as a Mr. Olympia all those years." Because I had to literally force feed myself, including protein, because I was not naturally super big. He goes, I had to eat so much food, so literally I was sick almost literally every day. He goes, I eat barely just enough to maintain kind of a look now, he goes, because people expect it from me as being a former slim. I lost interest in eating.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
see that.
think about that for a minute. Because I have trouble eating now because I force myself to eat food so much. She goes, I don't even like to eat
How
anymore.
much chicken and rice
like,
can you eat? Yeah.
Now, how's that for another
Yeah, that's
level?
another level for sure.
I've even got a trick, Lex. I even have a trick on priming my stomach with water on getting your system going, and believe it or not, it works.
What, are
If
you going like
drink-
Joey Chestnut on us, man?
Stomach expansion?
Yes.
The Nathan's
Yeah.
Hot Dog King? Okay,
Yeah,
Mark.
I literally, what I do is I take the water and I kill one glass. I kill one glass. And then I sip the other water until my food comes. And believe it or not, doing that other than just jumping into your food, it does make it easier because you've primed your saliva glands, and this is deep, bro, but this is saliva glands, your the things that you don't think count do count, and it really did help get your system going to start going, but it was still so brutal and so not fun to eat.
Mark, I can't go you in that though. I always drank as little bit of fluids with my meals as possible. I wanted to be able to eat as much as I could.
Yeah, when I ate,
so I never bloated my stomach first with water. I can't go with you on that one. Sorry.
Differing opinions from two of the best bodies in the business.
Now, this may be the catch that helped. I don't know the difference, but when the food came, I did not take a sip of liquid, and it wasn't because it wasn't because I wanted a sip and didn't do it. I just didn't do it. So maybe that leveled it off on what I'm talking about. I mean, I literally did not take once, and you know what? You're not supposed to. Do you know you're not supposed to drink 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after your meal? I've heard that story before. Have you ever heard that one, Lex?
I have not.
Do you find any truth to that?
I never tried it. I always just didn't drink a lot of fluids at mealtime because I wanted to be able to eat as much as I could.
Common sense is you're putting stuff in your stomach in the way of protein.
Right. I
That's
agree
how
with
I
that.
looked at it. That's how I looked at it. But it did help me. If I caught myself really not wanting to eat, I would go to that water, and it would really prime it, and it would prime my stomach. And there was times where I did it with a beer. But when I did have a beer, yes, believe it or not. But when I didn't do it with a beer, I said, well, and liquid's liquid. I said, let me try it with a water, So I tried it with a water, except I did some studies on beer, and alcohol thins your blood. And so when alcohol thins your blood, it makes you hungrier. And and I know, with a buzz, you can eat that menu to the ground. You can eat it to the ground, brother.
There you go.
So we had a lot of fun.
I love the differing opinions there too. That's good stuff. But so Lex, in '92, Vince McMahon starts the World Bodybuilding Federation, right? You were a big face in this.
Yeah.
They brought in some big names like Lou Ferrigno, Tom Platz. It was something Vince was obviously always passionate about.
Gary Stridham, all the big names.
Yes, exactly. And going right up against Joe Weider. And I know the Weiders were pretty, they weren't too happy with it, right? So it also kind of coincided with the sort of the steroid crackdown at the time of the WWF, right? So their thing was stricter drug testing with the WBF and all these differing aspects to the IFBB.
Yeah, that was a shoot.
Yeah, that was so it was
I used to get tested sometimes. I used to get tested sometimes 3, 4, 5 days in a row. You show up at the building, we called the white coats, the lab guys would be there, stripped down naked, and you had to take a test. That was the real deal back then.
They watched your penis go into a cup.
Yeah, you weren't swapping it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that was he was doing heavy, legit drug testing there for a while, which was not conducive to the pro bodybuilding league.
No.
Obviously.
So do you think that was a big reason why it fell flat? Because the Olympia did their only drug-tested show in 1990, right? And that was one of their least popular shows. They reversed that right away. 91, all the gear was back allowed. So do you think that was a reason why it failed? Or what do you think happened there as to why it didn't succeed?
That's a good question, Colton. I think Weider was kind of the big boy and he had a head start in everybody. I credit Vince McMahon. He's not scared to try a football league or a pro bodybuilding league. He is a fearless entrepreneur. I admire that about him. But Weider had that Muscle and Fitness magazine platform. He had a huge head start in everybody. He was integrated with all the big shows and the Arnold Classic, and I mean, he That would have been a tough one
Yeah.
to topple. I admire, and yes, I do agree that because Vince was under scrutiny for drug testing and those trumped up charges they had him at the time, that he was indicted for, and near in Manhattan there, he tested us like crazy. We all understood why, and that definitely didn't help. But I still think that would have been a tall order to try to topple Joe Weider.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. That guy had a stranglehold on it and did for 20 years after that.
Absolutely.
We went to Eric multiple times and said, Eric, look, we are G-rated and we work for Turner Broadcasting and we understand, but you got to get these guys off our back a little bit. I said, we're doing nothing wrong. I mean, how many low testosterone commercials do you see nowadays? It's just they didn't know it back then, and you were taking something you wasn't supposed to be taking. But that's not the way it was. Look up testosterone and read about it on how much it does for your body, how much it does for your sleep, how much it does for your brain. I mean, Scott Steiner fell over with a heart attack, calls me up, and he tells me, I give him the doctor to go to, and he calls me up and he goes, my testosterone was a 4. And I go, Scotty, you mean 400, right? He goes, no, it was a 4. Lex, Scott Steiner's testosterone was a 4. And I said, Scotty.
Well, now we all know
wonder
Scott's
why you
personal
died
medical
almost died
information.
of a heart attack?
There we go.
What did you say there, Lex?
Well, now we know Scott. Now everybody knows Scott Steiner's personal medical information. All right.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
There it is. There it is. Yeah.
Look out
Well,
next time you see Scotty.
let's hope he doesn't listen to the Macho Mecca podcast. I don't know if he does.
Oh my God.
But no, I've met.
It's like double H. I mean, double J. Double J goes, you know what, Bagwell? It ain't what you say. It's how you say it.
Yeah, Jared. There you go.
Marcus, you're a HIPAA violator.
Yeah.
There you go,
Yes, I
man.
am.
So, and that kind of
I am HP.
this conversation leads into my question for Lex. I know, Lex, you've been pretty open about it in the past, but what was the Lex Luger? Because we are a bodybuilding podcast. I mean, we all know the lay of the land,
Right.
And so, what was the Lex Luger, drug protocol when you were taking them and then not taking them, and did it change throughout your career? I mean, even in TNA, when you're coming out in your mid-40s, you still looked fantastic. And I know at the time people were probably like, well, it's all juice. Obviously, you work your ass off in the gym. That's all bullshit. None of our listeners, are going to say that. That's not the audience we foster around here. So what was the Lex Luger drug protocol like, and what did it look like?
Well, that's a great question, Colton. I was very fortunate. I had Mark doesn't mind know, my agent in football was an exercise physiologist, and he always had me tested. He always had me go off as much as I was on to clear out, so that when you did go on, it was effective. And so I was always, if I went on for 8 weeks, I went off for 8 weeks. If I went on for 12 weeks, I went off. Always ascending, then descending.
Sure.
My main,
the body break.
because I had pretty good genetics.
Oh yeah, no
my
doubt.
mainstay was a base of testosterone and decadrabalin. I tried
Testing
some of the
Deca,
water-based Winstrol and stuff. But I was mainly for the first 2/3 of my career of my 5th year testosterone and Deca, and at various levels throughout the cycle. I'd start out low to a high level for a few weeks in the middle. If it's 12 weeks, then I'd back off. I'd go off for the same amount of weeks. I late in my career, when the growth hormone hit, I would take a above minimal, like I would say I took maybe double what would be just considered growth hormone therapy for a middle-aged guy.
Sure.
I take maybe a double dose of that, and with some testosterone. The last 5 years of my career, when I was maybe in the best shape, was strictly some testosterone with growth hormone, and that was pretty much close to year round.
Yeah.
I tried to take as little of that as I needed to keep my look, but that was kind of an overview of my 15 years in the business.
There you go. And so you did it right under doctor's supervision, and so you never
always
felt
had my blood work done.
Right. You never felt like you were adversely affected long term by any of that stuff because you did it the right way.
Getting our blood tested.
Yeah, I've never had a bad blood test. Now, my doctor, I obviously had a neurological injury, which had nothing to do with
nothing to do with
my
steroids.
younger days, as far as training or nutrition or anabolics or anything like that, or growth hormone. But my blood work now is amazing, and my doctor said, other than your spinal cord injury, your neurological challenges, you're like the healthiest 63-year-old we have. I'm on no medications. My blood work's perfect. I credit a lot of that to my agent, who was an exercise physiologist, who always had me clear out properly and always monitor myself for proper blood work.
This is when we cycled.
I always get my growth and testing.
This is when we cycled, right, Lex?
Yeah.
I mean, that was when you said that's the difference during that time of we cycled. If it was 6 weeks, we came off 12.
Yeah.
You know, we cycled. We cycled properly, or 6 and 6.
Well, but I would come off an equal amount of time than I was on.
Then we learned through doctors at WCW that, you know, anytime your body goes this is bad. And testosterone has a 10-day lifespan. So let's say you take a shot today and you don't take another shot for 10 days. Your body goes like this. And then all of a sudden, you take another shot. Boom. Here it comes back up for 10 days because it's on fire. But then it starts to crush again for 10 days. So we learned through doctors that WCW had for us to take, even if you took half a cc a week, you were to have that and take it twice a week, because it kept this to this. And that's where you wanted to stay. You wanted to stay where it was not much of a big wave. And am I saying that, Lex, correctly, you think?
Yeah, you didn't have large deviations.
Thank you.
Like once a week, you're better off.
Yes, you'd have large deviations, and you know, anytime with the heart or anything with the big deviations, you're gonna have problems.
Right, and there's different esters with different lengths for different types of testosterone you can take for sure. But that's good to know. I mean, a test in DECA today is what people would consider a mild cycle. I mean, I know guys at the gym today that have Tren and Winstrol in their bag.
I just had my lawyer call me just the other day, and he takes one shot a month. And I said, listen, John, I said, you've got to stop. You've got to at least ask your doctor. It doesn't make sense. It's got a 10-day lifespan. So let's just say you do what they're saying. There's too much of a gap. You've got to have more in there. At less, it don't matter how much you take. It can be very little amounts, but it's got to stay. The deviations have got to stay here, and not such big valleys and peaks and valleys. And that's where a lot of guys do mess up and not realize what they're doing because they're just not doing it the right way.
Yep. Yeah, you can nosedive yourself. That's how you can pop up with a 4 on your testosterone test, right? Is
yes, exactly. Which I'm now to go be killed by Scott Steiner.
Right, exactly. So, So, speaking of Scott Steiner, Buff, well, actually it was Rick Steiner. Buff told a great story in the last podcast about Rick Steiner dumbbell pressing 180-pound dumbbells. I wanted to ask Lex.
180s, Lex.
Are there any
In Kansas
gym
City,
stories?
In Kansas City.
They were both freaky
Do
strong.
you have any great gym stories about anyone really in the business
I do.
that you came across that you can share?
One that I wasn't too envious of too many guys, but the greatest football player ever at Florida State University, the man, our beloved Bobby Bowden, who just passed recently, one of the greatest college football coaches ever. His locker is plexiglass in at Florida State. His jersey retired. Bobby Bowden with Deion Sanders and all those players said Ron Simmons was the greatest college football player I ever coached. Think about that. Wow.
That's huge.
And
That's
Ron
gigantic.
Simmons was freaky strong. He came out of high school.
I've heard stories.
Ron came out of high school down in Florida, out of Georgia here, went to Florida State benching. I heard the rumors because I played at University of Miami. Heard that, hey, there's this Ron Simmons guy at Florida State. He benches 565. He's a freshman. We played in my freshman year in the Orange Bowl. Ron Simmons was ripped. One of the first guys to roll his jersey up. He was a sight to behold. He would walk in the gym when we were on the road. I'll never forget in Pittsburgh one time at the Gold's Gym when we were wrestling together. Now, I was okay bencher. You know, I could do a bunch of reps at 405 and a few reps at the 5 big wheels on each side for low fives, you know. But Ron Simmons, he would walk in the gym, warm up at 225 in like street clothes, kind of like jeans on and a pair of shoes and he walked in. The first time I'd seen Ron bench, he did 225 for like 6 reps, 315 for like 3 or 4 reps, 405 for 2 or 3 reps. I'm thinking, what's going on here? I'm watching. He puts 5 big wheels on both sides with collars. Now we got 505 on. Lays down no spotter, no handoff, pumps out 5 reps, gets up and leaves the gym. I wanted to kill him. I was so jealous. I've never seen a bench demonstration like that in all my life. And I was around world-class powerlifters. For like a guy wrestling on the road, come in the gym and do that.
Lex said he wanted to kill him.
I mean, I was so mad at him. My gosh.
That's crazy.
That's one of the craziest things I've seen.
That's just unbelievable. And the Steiners
Ron
had that.
Simmons.
The Steiners had that kind of crazy, not that much, but they had that same kind of strength where one day I watched Rick Steiner walk in and he had a pair of boots, he had a dip in, and he had a pair of jeans and a pair of boots and just old work boots, and he put 315 on the bench, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to do 315 without warming up or anything? Well, little did I know, he scooted underneath it and did behind the neck shrugs, behind the neck bench press, behind the neck
shoulder presses.
Shoulder presses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
And I thought he was going to do flat bench without warming up. He did behind the neck presses without warming up. Hey,
with 315.
He did 3 sets and left the gym, and I went, that can't be right. I mean,
I saw Rick
first
Steiner.
of all, I hate his guts.
Hey, Rick Steiner can squat now too.
I know, he was a big squatter.
I used to squat with him. I was at a gym in Chicago with him. He would do no wraps, no big belt, like no big thick suede belt, like just a thin leather belt with no wraps, and he'd put 745s on both sides and do 4 or 5 reps down. Yeah. I mean, below parallel, top of the thigh. Right.
So that's you got the bar. The bar is like a.
Rick Steiner could squat.
Oh yeah, the bar is.
Oh my God,
the bend
crazy.
over.
The bend on the shoulders.
Yeah, the bar whipping. Yeah.
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 So Rick was stronger than Scotty then, you would say, or would you say?
Depends which lift you're talking about now.
Well, now,
Okay,
bench press, I think, yes.
I saw Scotty could do a seated front presses with Olympic bar with 365 for 8-10 reps.
See, I never saw that.
I mean, think about that for a second.
The strength I
Three
saw
big
him
wheels
was,
and 25 on each
was
end.
laterals.
He hit about 8 reps with that sitting. He'd unrack it, facing it, and a bench press thing, and do about 8 reps with 365.
Just
What the
freaks.
hell?
Just freaks,
Yeah.
man. I watched him
Ridiculous.
do
Who
with
does that,
form.
Colton? Who does that?
Nobody. I watched him with form do 100-pound dumbbells, laterals, with the most perfect form that you can get on doing laterals, arm laterals, and
But I'll go the other
shoulders.
way, Colton. I know, Colton, I'll go the other way. I worked out with WWF, a lot of those world-class bodybuilders. They blew my mind. And I learned something from them. They, like, especially with arms and things, would get more out of less weight.
Sure.
So the way they handle and the rate and the speed they moved at, and work just more the muscle rather than using any momentum. And I learned that when I tore a bicep
and they
tendon.
get hurt.
I couldn't go so heavy. My arms, because I went lighter with better form, so I was, to be honest with you, very tentative about my bicep tendon after the surgery. I reattached it. My arms grew up by about a half to 3/4 of an inch by getting more out of less. Like with my arms, those world-class bodybuilders might not throw around a ton of weight, but boy, they know how to sculpt and get the most out of the weight that they use. And of course, great hookups and great genetics, obviously, as well. But man, I learned a lot from those guys.
I saw Lex with my own eyes.
We're bragging about their super heavy weight, but those guys, really
they knew what
showed me a
angle to
different
hit it
aspect of
at
training.
and how many reps to hit it at and things like that instead of going heavy and hurting themselves. But back when it still was in the middle of me and you, as you know, Package, we were caught in the middle of that, lift heavy, 1 rep thing to that's wrong. You should be doing at least 6 to 8 reps. We got caught in that and actually won the battle of doing 6 and 8s and 10s minimum. If we couldn't get 6, we didn't do that a second time. Ever. You've never once did.
Well, any good bodybuilder knows once you go below 6 reps, you're more demonstrating strength rather than maybe building the best amount of muscle mass you could in the workout. So, the 6, 8, 10, 12.
But you did 225. You did 225 one day on straight bar curls with perfect form for 10. And it was the most incredible thing besides the 405 I've ever seen you do. And it was 225. And I'm talking about no swinging, no anything. The only thing you had was you had wraps. You did have wraps on just to have a better grip of 225. And you did perfect straight bar curls at 225 with an arm that was supposed to be amputated by Dr. Armstrong. And over that motorcycle weight.
I had a full disclosure. I had a little hitch at the bottom.
There was a very little hitch, and I would say if there was more.
Little cheek swing from the bottom.
You got 225 on the bar, man. I mean, I can look past.
It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life to train with Lex. It really was his tendon, and he said it earlier. His tendons and his tendon strength and things were so powerful that it allowed him to get by for so long and stay uninjured for so long by not having tendon damage and still was just without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, just everything you did what he did because he was doing it the best. He was doing it right, and you wanted to be like Lex Luger. You wanted to look like him. You never were going to, but you wanted to look as best as you possibly could as Lex.
Oh, shucks, man.
No.
You're making me
Yes,
blush.
I see you
It's
blushing
beautiful.
over there. But Lex
So
Luger
you
taught
guys
me
are
everything-
obviously-
and Lex Luger taught me everything I know that counts. And understand, hear
There
the
you go.
word that counts. It's words that counts, like the reverse pyramid, the things that make sense, the things that we did that made sense, the one body part a day, when for years we did chest back on Monday, shoulders, arms on Tuesday, legs on Tuesday, shoulders and arms on Wednesday, Thursday off, and you did it all over again. All the way to doing, you convinced me to doing one body part a day. That, just the things that you taught me to save my body and to keep look and to look the way I looked and to look the way you looked was unbelievable, the knowledge that I got from you. So thank you so much.
Well, keep in mind, Claude, we had to balance the wrestling in the ring every night and bouncing around,
Yeah.
picking our bodies up with how we train. So we had to find that perfect balance to not overtrain. So
I mean, if you remember, how many times did we have to order?
do kind of a hybrid work.
How many times did we have to order the myriad food at 10 o'clock before the kitchen closed and get back home at 2 in the morning and have to eat broccoli and cold chicken and cold broccoli and just choke it down with water because it was that or cheat, and we wasn't going to cheat. And the difference of that,
we had to wait on the room on us when we got
and
back.
be waiting on the room for us when we got back, and we ate it.
For sure.
And we ate it, bro. What? No, forget this. Let's get a pizza. We ate it.
That's why you guys look the way you did.
And that's
I
the
mean,
way we looked.
and
That's why we looked the way we looked.
one of the things that you guys
That's
mentioned
right,
earlier,
that's
which
right.
is, yeah,
That's right,
but
that's
it was a
right.
great point. You guys basically were preparing almost for a bodybuilding show every week. So I'm assuming, and
Absolutely.
correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were probably adjusting your diet on Saturday and Sunday maybe to look your best for Nitro. Were you guys trying to play with that at all?
Yeah, we had a guy named Mark Wallace help us with that, didn't we, Marcus?
Yes, Mark Wallace
Remember Mark
was
Wallace?
the best at that. But still, I think Lex will tell you this. Everybody was a little bit different on when to get that carb load meal in. Some guys needed to do it Saturday late. Some guys needed to do it Sunday morning. Some guys needed to do it Sunday night before Nitro. But that's the only thing that separated doing what me and Lex were doing and making it right was to make sure you got that cheat meal in at the right time. And sometimes you missed, just like pro bodybuilders do, and sometimes you hit it right on the money.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Lex? Were you carbing up the day of on Nitro, or what was that like?
I would start carbing up the day before, and then the day of, I would actually stay pretty high in the carbs. I'd even at showtime, I'd hit some Reese's cups or something like
Pecan
that
pie,
before I went out.
pecan pie.
Hit that sugar a little bit too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would go lower on Friday. Friday would be my low point. Then I'd start to carb a little bit on Saturday. I'd start my carb loading on Sunday into Monday, and then I'd even hit some sugar, like chocolate and peanut butter or something at the actual taping that night at Nitro.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
mean, I remember I've been at the go curtain. I've been in the go position, and literally start getting faint and had to do like open 5 packs of sugar and pour sugar in my mouth just so I didn't pass out before my match because I'd gone too far and it had gotten where I needed some carbs, I needed some sugar, and it get almost high.
Yeah, we had those glycogen replenishment packets.
Yes, yes.
Little gel pack, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
We had those gel packs we take too.
There you go. So who came up? Did you guys sit down with Eric, or when you came up with Totally Buffed, was that something that you guys went to him with and you wanted to work together, or how did that start?
Absolutely not. That's just something that made so much sense. How could you argue with it? It was, I mean, he's
exactly
the Total Package. I'm Buff Bagwell. And I can't remember if it was Lex or myself that came up with it, but it was just so unbelievably easy. We just came up with Totally Buffed, and it was one of the best tag teams ever. And what a great name, you know, what a great name.
Yep.
That was it. Okay, there you go. So Lex, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you talked about your bicep tendon tear, but in bodybuilding, one of the hardest things to deal with is an injury from a mental standpoint. Now, today, you obviously had like you said, a spinal infection, right?
No.
Can you talk about?
No, it was I had a spinal cord injury. I had massive swelling from C5 down to T5. Yeah. So
I was gonna say, can you tell the listeners about that and talk about, from a mental standpoint, how you've been able to basically accept the fact that, like, hey, I'm not going to be able to lift the way I did before ever again. I mean, that's maybe a bodybuilder's worst fear, or even somebody who enjoys the gym, the idea of it being taken away. Is that because, you know, at this point you feel like you're fortunate to even be here at all, so that seems insignificant in the whole thing? Or how does that work as far as the mental? I mean, you're in great spirits, you look awesome. You know, how are you able to maintain that when you've been a gym rat your whole life?
Well, I still love to go to the gym. I can't do what I used to, but I use the machines and do what I can do. I still have that love. I'm still a gym rat. The adjustment was challenging, because with a spinal cord injury, 1 minute you're, you know, in the gym lifting what you'd lift and look at the way we looked, the next minute I was paralyzed from the neck down. So I am able to walk and stand some. Number one, so that helps. I can drive and live independently and dress myself and feed myself. I wasn't even supposed to do that, Colton. So I definitely embrace what I can do, not what I can't do. And as far as the aspect of getting used to my new body, I'm now a man of faith. And Apostle Paul in the Bible had a thorn in his flesh, a physical affliction. People guessed what it was. And he kept on asking God to remove it. And God told him that my grace will always be sufficient for you, Paul. My power works best in your weakness. So when I was struggling with the transition from 275, walking in a room, everybody looking at you, to 175 now in a wheelchair, that was a big change. But I know now that our inner strength, our spiritual strength for eternity is what really matters. When I met Jesus, that changed everything for me. My whole outlook on my injury, how I deal with it. I tell people that God streamlined and redefined me, Colton, and I really.
When did you know that, Lex?
Talk about all these
different
aspects.
When did you know that?
What's that?
When did you know that? When did you feel that and know what you're saying right now? When did that know? When did you know that?
I met Jesus
did you know
before my
you
injury.
Felt like, you know, you could do that?
April 23rd of 06 is when I got saved.
Gotcha.
That's when Jesus became my Lord and Savior.
Is that when it started?
My spinal cord injury was a year and a half later, thank goodness. Because I'll be honest, Colton, I don't think, and Mark knows the old Lex, I don't think if I didn't have the Holy Spirit in me and help me through what happened with me with the spinal cord, I don't think the old Lex would have handled it very well. Do you, Mark?
No.
Stinger, our best friend, thinks that I probably would have done something, because my whole persona my everything who I was wrapped up into my physical presentation, who I was physically. So I don't think, which was off balance, and looking back now, that was out of sync. That's my body and workout was really a false idol. I was, obsessed with it. And that, it's great to be in shape and work out and have a great physique. And I do miss that sometimes. But at the same time, I know that that's not really who I am.
Of course.
That's what I look like, but it's not who I am. Right. I know who I am now in Christ. So that Colton, really, I can't take the credit. That's something that my relationship with the Lord has really brought me through on. And that's a great question. And thank you for letting me share that.
Absolutely.
Thank you that was. Thank you for telling us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. I mean, anyone who's ever, it's hard to even describe that. So we really appreciate you sharing that. And I mean, I can't even imagine. Like I've blown both my pecs before, and I can't, bench for 6 months, and it's like, you feel like the world's ending, but it puts everything in perspective, and I think it does for our listeners as well.
Yeah, when I was laying in that hospital bed, paralyzed, knocked down, I said, Lord, I don't know how to live this like this. So I go, either bring me home now or teach me how to live this way. And he did.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, great. That's a great line. You've never said that one to me. That's fantastic. Oh, my God.
That was my prayer.
That was a great one. That was a great one.
Yeah, man. So for you guys, you guys traveled together. You were buddies for a long time. Are there any stories that you guys wanted to share about just something that maybe no one's ever heard before, or just a crazy story? I know a lot of the time, and I'll ask you guys this after. If you want to share it now, you can. One of the questions we got asked was about the Winnipeg flight with Scotty getting thrown off the flight. People wanted to hear what went down there. But is there any road stories that you wanted to share for the fans?
Well, the Winnipeg story, Mark, that was a strange deal because we got thrown off the plane because of the seating arrangement.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a beer at that point.
Guilty of association.
Colton, I was totally clean. I didn't drink. I didn't pop any pills. Mark might have had a beer or two right on the layover in Minneapolis.
Right.
Mark might have had a beer or two.
Yeah.
And we got on the plane, and the gate agent, the true story on that, Colton, things get a life of their own. When we got on the plane, the guy given Mark and I each because the plane wasn't full, our own row of seats. And when we sat down,
the stewardess
we were
said,
real
no,
comfortable.
you can't do this.
Well, some of the people wanted to spread out like we did and wanted to encroach on our row. And we actually had the boarding cards with multiple seats. The flight attendant didn't know the gating agent had done that, and she thought we were being obstinate and hard to deal with and weren't letting people sit in the seats. And we argued our case, and guess what? When you argue your case on airlines, you lose. They escorted us off the plane.
Wow. So you guys have the rights to the whole row, basically. You wanted your big dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
I had the boarding passes.
We had the boarding passes.
The whole row.
We had the actual boarding passes, Cole. We had the boarding passes. And because she wouldn't listen to us and thought we were being smart butts, she kicked us off the plane instantly.
Jeez.
I looked at the gate agent as we got escorted by the police. I looked at him like, hey, he just shrugged his shoulders like, sorry, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just totally screwed us. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because he was trying to do us a favor,
Right.
but in a way he buried us because he didn't let the flight attendant know, and she got hot at us and kicked us off the plane.
Damn. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The gate agent shrugged his shoulder. He just did that to me in Atlanta on Sunday. The gate closed. I missed my connection. He shrugged his shoulders. He said, sorry, man. Good luck getting back to Denver, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, no doubt. So let's see. I'm making sure I didn't forget any questions. The torture rack. Did you come up with that, or what made you go with that as your finisher?
Ric Flair to a more minor, but the Dream, Dusty Rhodes. He said, "Hey kid, you got those abs and that body. You think you could do this backbreaker and end up being called a torture rack?" He goes, "That's my first match on TBS. It's the old Saturday Night 605 show. You're probably too young, Cole, but that was our mainstay show. And he had to go out there and do it. And he came back, Dusty. That's it, kid. That's your finish." And the rest was history. So Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, gave me that finish. It was a great
I
finish.
have been in the torture rack more than anybody.
I don't know about that. Maybe a few times.
I think I've seen it more than once. But that way.
I was at a speaking engagement last night in Charleston, South Carolina, and George South. Remember George South?
Yeah.
He was there, and he told me he has a record for torture racks. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he might argue with you on that one, Mark.
You know what? He may get the win on that.
There you go.
I'm gonna give him the victory.
How many blockbusters did you take, Lex?
0, I think.
Believe it or not, I would guess
true, Bob?
0, but I've got a couple of cards where you're in the same outfit, so it could be one that you're in.
I'm joking. There might have been a blockbuster too.
Hey, there wasn't a cover.
Mark did blockbuster Goldberg, remember?
That's right,
Yes.
you did.
And I got
And
the
then
cover.
Lex covered him.
Hey Mark, remember? But Bill had me cover him.
Yeah, I was too small to cover him, so Lex had to cover him.
I said, Mark,
Did he actually say that? I say I want Lex to cover me, but you can hit the
yeah,
It didn't come to
blockbuster
me.
buff.
It didn't come to me. It came to Lex. And Lex covered him for the
go.
1, 2, 3.
hey, you got a great finish, Mark. Thank you. I got a pin on Goldberg. It's your
Hey,
finish.
hey,
Thank you
hey!
very much.
We were the first ones to beat him, brother. We were
One
the
of
first
the-
ones to
Without
beat
the help
him.
of a taser.
We were the first ones.
Was the locker room at the time? I mean, you guys obviously end up going out of business in 01, or you get bought out. Everyone knows that. But what was it like at the end? I mean, you're in there with Scott Steiner. You're in there with Randy Savage in the late '90s, which is kind of a different version of the Macho Man. He was much bigger. And a lot of people wanted to ask about that too. Did you notice Randy change as a person? As you know, when he got all thick and he got with Gorgeous George, what was going on with Randy there? For whatever, we're the Macho Mecca Podcast, so we get a lot of Macho Man questions. I wanted to ask you that. Did you guys notice a big change in Randy when that happened?
I really didn't. I didn't see, the only thing I remember with Randy was me and Lex were super duper tight. And Lex is not only my best friend, is one of the best men I've ever met in my entire life. He taught me things like cussing. It just shows that you're ignorant, Mark. He goes, when you cuss, you show ignorance. He goes, so Lex could literally cuss you out and not use one cuss word and put you in your spot in such a way because of his vocabulary, and he was such a smart man that he could do that, where when you're a Bagwell, you run out of words, so you go to cussing, which shows your ignorance. So I learned so many things from Lex, from Jim to being a better man, to being a better person, to being everything better around Lex Luger. The closer I was to Lex, the better my life was. There's no doubt about it. And
I love you too, Mark.
Every single flight, as soon as I heard the tires come out, I'd be like, oh no. And I could see Lex starting to move around up there. in first class, and I'll be like, oh God, here we go. And sure enough, here he come. Here he come with a coffee and everything. Because once you drove home, you were not going back to the gym. So we definitely
straight to the gym.
hit the gym on the way home.
Hey, Colton.
Yeah.
Back to Macho Man. When he Mach and I always had a great relationship. A lot of people don't know that. We traveled down the road a lot, and in spite of everything, including with Elizabeth, everything, Mach and I always got along really, really well. And Mach, when he, I didn't see any personality change in him. But I mean, talk about a different look, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he made it. I was like, Mach, man, he looked incredible. Might not have been the best for him wrestling wise because he was carrying a lot of good weight, but a lot of extra weight.
Yep.
And he wasn't, none of us were spring chickens anymore at the time.
Right.
But he looked incredible. But there was no big, Mach was always Mach, and there was no, like if you're talking about, or felt people thought his personality changed along with it. No. Mach was Mach.
Yeah.
He looked incredible. He really
Definitely.
did.
Yeah, I mean, even because when he did Spider-Man as Bonesaw McGraw, I mean, he was probably 51, and that was probably the best he ever looked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, like you said, the best thing for his wrestling or even for his health, potentially. But I don't know. I had a few of those questions. Yeah, he looked amazing.
As far as training and nutrition, muscle mass, lean, Mach in his late 40s and close to 50, he looked incredible.
No doubt.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
You didn't see many transformations like that throughout pro wrestling where a guy did that in his late 40s. I mean, I can't really think of many guys that have done that before.
Mach was an all-in kind of guy, man. That's what, with his career, his character, that's what I think was one of his key ingredients to success. He was all in. There was no quit, no. I mean, when I try to bury Mach at the gym, he'd hang with you, man. He was intense, and that's the way he really was. Does he really talk like that? I go, yeah, he really talks like that.
Yeah.
Mach was an amazing guy. I love Mach.
Was the heat between him and Hulkster? Did it feel real at the time? I know as the rap album came out and he did some of those things, and then ultimately they made up before he passed. It sounded like, but was the heat pretty real between them in WCW even?
I always, from my perspective, and that's the only question really Hulkster or if Mach still was could answer.
Sure.
From my perspective, I always thought they were like, they call sibling rivalry or brothers are competitive. They were like competitive, like brothers, almost like family, and there was that intense competition between them, almost like love-hate.
Yeah.
We call it sometimes. Yes. That was kind of their relationship, and then really they both thrived off it in a way. It fed their careers, and they were both at the pinnacle, two of the biggest names ever in pro wrestling. So it was kind of dysfunctional, yet productive at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, made them both better.
It did.
Yep.
It did.
Gotcha.
It really did.
That's just my kind of perspective on it.
Yes.
Being around both of them quite a bit.
Yeah. I had talked to Coco Beware a few weeks ago, and he was kind of in the WWF in the 80s, and he said that the heat felt pretty real at the time. Maybe by the 90s, like you said, it had kind of become more of a productive love-hate thing, like you said. So
right. Mm-hmm.
That's good feedback. And then the final one here, did you guys know, especially Lex, because you had the contrast of having been in WWF before, when you get to WCW, especially when you're there in 2000 or so, did you feel like it was a sinking ship? Did you know that things were really in trouble, or was it a blindside when the trucks rolled up one day and WWF was there to acquire everything?
That's a great question, Colton. From my perspective, Marcus might have a different one. I always had a foreboding, so to speak, I went to an event back in '97 when the Braves Stadium was opening, and all the big wheels for TBS, TNT, Time Warner, all the advertisers from the major companies were at this ice sculpture, shrimp, and crab, and the baseball stadium the Braves were opening up hadn't opened yet. We were overlooking the field. They invited me as a conversation piece, the wrestler, but they talked to all these big ad executives, the money guys, the top people at Time Warner, and they talked about the future of TBS and TNT. This was '97 now, the peak of the Monday Night Wars, and they loved our ratings. We were kind of like their ratings monster black sheep. But when they went over their 10 or 15 year ivory tower projections of where TNT, TBS, what type of programming they're going to have, those executives at Time Warner Media did not mention wrestling one time. I went home to my wife at the time and I said, Peggy, I go, Peg, first chance, I go, that those executives can unload wrestling if our ratings ever drop, there won't be wrestling anymore. Because Ted Turner always said, you're my wrestlers and you'll always have wrestling. Ted Turner, for the first time, lost power as a majority shareholder. He was our ace in the hole. And I knew eventually, if the ratings dropped, me personally, that they were looking to unload us. Sure enough, they did. Because we might have been, I believe the competition was good. We might have been able to make a comeback. We were killing them in ratings and they started killing us. I think if they were behind wrestling and wanted us to stay with program, the companies may have stayed separate a lot longer and we might have thrived again. Yeah. I really think that the powers to be at Time Warner looking to unload wrestling. So there was shock the night of it, the way it happened. So sudden, big picture wise, I wasn't surprised.
I knew.
And I was kind of sad.
I knew it was over when we were doing 3-5s and the NBA Finals was doing 1s, and they did not mention the word wrestling. That's when I knew something was up. That's when I knew it was over, because here's a company doing 3-5s. And the NBA Finals are doing 1s, and we got no credit
love
at all. So I knew there it was we had lost our battle.
And Colton, I was sad the day it happened because I had a guaranteed contract for a couple of years, for more years, for a lot of money, and I'd had my run for 15 years. The younger guys like Marcus and stuff, that's what I felt sad for, because the competition between the companies raised and elevated the money and the ratings. So I felt bad for the younger guys.
When Vince bought our company, my contract was up in 1 month.
Yeah,
so
you were
I
the
had
worst
to
time.
join when these guys, just by pure timing and luck and everything else, it's nothing good or bad to say about anybody. It's just the way it came down. And the way when Vince bought the company, some guys were able to sit at home and weigh things out and see what happened. And guys like me, Dallas, and Booker T were thrown right into the fire to find out what happened, and it was not good. It wasn't good at all.
But big picture, Colton, the guys lost their leverage when there's only one big player, which is why wrestling is great again with AEW coming up. I work for WWF. I'm an ambassador, and I love the company I work for. But competition, I think, is good. I think this is kind of renewal for the fans with coming out of the COVID. AEW's going after WWE and talents going back and forth.
Does it sound familiar?
Wrestling's in for another
heyday. Does it sound familiar a little bit?
Yeah.
It sounds like WCW and WWF a little bit, doesn't it?
And it's funny, I always tell the story, and for whoever listens, not that my platform's as big as your guys, but I'm a huge Jaguars fan, as Lex knows, as Buff knows. And when the Khans bought the team in 2011, I was I had a decent sized YouTube presence as related to media coverage of the Jaguars, and I was granted some press passes and access. I was in college at South Carolina, And I remember I was at the pro day for University of South Carolina, and Tony Khan was there. And this was in 2012, I think. 2013, because it was Jadeveon Clowney's pro day. And Tony, I had known me through a few Twitter conversations. This was before the Khans were even involved in pro wrestling at all. And we had kind of liked some things back and forth with each other related to wrestling. And I talked to him, and he mentioned, he was like, yeah, you know, it's something that I've always wanted to get into was pro wrestling. And I remember that day thinking, these guys, if he really has some pull with his dad's cash, could maybe one day start something. And that's exactly what happened. So
Yes.
it was kind of a cool, like, showing of the hand maybe 4 years before it actually happened by Tony Khan to me in Columbia, South Carolina. So I always tell that story, but
That's a cool little backstory there, Colton. I like
exactly.
Good story.
Little inside. So
that.
yeah, guys, I mean, that's all the questions we've had from the fans. I mean, I really appreciate the time. I mean, it's been an honor. It's a privilege. I always love hanging out with Buff, and Lex has been great to meet and hang out with you. I know that people are going to love this. Any parting words, any parting stories from either one of you guys? The floor is yours. We'd love to hear it.
Lex.
For me, I love my life. I love what I'm doing. I love the Lord. I love you, Marcus. And I love the fans. I have a renewed love for wrestling. Kind of when I was in the midst of it, I was kind of trying to make it through the travel and the training, but now I'm like a wrestling fan again. So wrestling fans are special. They were with me through my good times and my worst times. So I'd like to thank all the fans for that. And just thanks for having me on, Colton. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Definitely, Lex. Anytime.
when Lex told me he would do this, I was really shocked, and at the same time excited because I knew the fans would love to hear what he had to say and what he would do. Because, I mean, people don't realize. I mean, there's a different way to say it, and here's how I say it. That is the Total Package Lex Luger. I mean, that's just the way I say it because he is the Total Package Lex Luger, man. He always will be the Total Package Lex Luger. And that means so much to me. So when I see him, no matter how I see him, wheelchair, not wheelchair, standing, not standing, it doesn't matter. That is the Total Package Lex Luger that has done things that people will never, ever even have a chance to do or equal or somewhat even have a chance to cover the bases of doing something like slamming the big Japanese guy, what was his name?
Yokozuna.
Yokozuna.
He slammed him on the big ship.
Intrepid,
And I mean,
yeah.
God, that was just. I mean, you talking about. I got to watch that, and then all of a sudden I'm in the ring with my World Tag Team partner. So it was just a great ride for me, and Lex was part of that, and Lex made that. He made that happen, and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and was lucky enough to be part of the ride of the Total Package, and I love him so much, and always have. We always will.
I love you too, Marcus.
And I just always put Lex number one. There's never been one thing said bad out of my mouth toward Lex, and never will be a word said bad toward Lex. And because anytime I hear something, I would say something back to return, because it's just nobody's ever treated me the way Lex Luger's treated me, and that is with top A. We used to call it, what we call it, Lex? Class A personality.
Number one.
Number one personality. Number one
Me, myself,
personality.
and
And
I.
we did. We had number one personality, bro, and that's the way it took. If you didn't see yourself as number one personality, then you never were going to make it. We were number one personality people. We had the best food. We had the best gyms. We had the best clothes. We did the best workouts, and we deserved it, and we tried, and it wasn't something that was handed to us. We went out and got it and made it that way, and Lex taught me that. And
Man, I'm ready to go to the gym. Oh, man. I'm ready to go work out.
So let's do it. Let's go right now. And I'm gonna slap. We're gonna start it off with a slap.
There you go. Love you, Marcus. Thanks, Colt.
We'll get some glycogen packets and some stuff.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Colt.
There you go. Hey, anytime, guys. And on behalf of all the fans and speaking for myself, I want to thank you guys too, because I remember being a kid in Panama City Beach, Florida, my first WCW show. And I was there with my uncle took me. My parents didn't want me to go, but my uncle took me anyway. And I remember seeing Buff Bagwell, Lex Luger, and Scott Steiner and thinking in my young child brain, I want to look like that.
Wow.
Now, it never quite happened that way, but I'm working on it every day. So I appreciate the inspiration.
Thanks, Colton.
Keep it up, because I remember always wanting to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's never going to happen, but if they would have told me
Buff
that,
Bagwell's pretty close.
if they would have told me that, I would have been depressed. So don't worry about that. You go for absolute being the best that you can be, and that's what it'll be, brother. That's what it will be.
Hell yeah, guys. Well, on behalf of all the fans, this has been the Macho Mecca Podcast. We love it. And until next time, this is Colton signing off. Later, guys.